This is Artemis Oracle and Tarot, a space for those walking the moonlit path. Seekers looking to explore and integrate the divine masculine in ways that feel authentic, embodied, and whole. This work centers on masculinity, but it's not exclusive to men. Masculinity lives in all of us, regardless of our gender, orientation, or identity. Many of us carry unconscious, wounded, or toxic expressions of masculinity, and this space is here to offer guidance and reflection so we can meet that energy with openness and sincerity. So whether you're male, female, non-binary, or something beautifully in between, you are welcome here, and this is exactly where you're meant to be. My name is Adrian, or you can call me Ade, the creator of Artemis Tarot and Artemis Oracle decks, which you'll see today. These decks came about out of my own dark night journey as a gay man who felt spiritually stuck and disconnected from divinity after painful early experiences with religion. I learned that whether something is scientifically real or not is almost besides the point, because if we experience as real, it has power. It can hinder us or it can help. So I chose to change my relationship to spirituality into something that actually helps. Hi Gemini, welcome to your October reading. This is Artemis Oracle and Tarot, a sacred space of healing for those walking the moonlight path. I hope that this reading finds you well, and let's jump into it. So today we will be doing a simple 3-card spread with the Artemis Oracle cards, and then following that we will do a slightly longer tarot reading, which I'll explain a little bit more about the spread that we'll be using for that when we get to it. But without any further delay, let's jump into your Oracle cards, which will follow the traditional format of past, present, and future. And just before I jump into that, I will light some incense. We've got musk here today for you. Fine. All right. Let's shuffle these cards. And just a reminder that all of the archetypes that come up in today's reading, you can learn more about them on my website, which is www.artemispalimpsest.com. And you can read up on all of the other oracle archetypes there as well. There's 44 that comprise the Divine Masculine archetype deck. Okay, so we're looking for a card for the past for Gemini. And you've pulled the Dionysus card here in your past. And Dionysus speaks to, I guess, euphoria, self-expression, and also cycles of pleasure and release. And I think what's important here about Dionysus is understanding that, especially in the upright like this, it's not about indulgence to excess in a way that's destructive, but rather the role that ecstatic states play in maintaining like a overall healthy and regulated system, and in fact awe, the experience of awe, AWE, has been shown to play a critical role in regulation, and also for individuals who might be suffering from like a trauma history, or can play a significant role in helping to reset that and kind of helping people kind of reconnect to a sense of what's important to them. And, you know, Dionysus, you know, is well known for his jaunts and his indiscretions, but I think above all there's that element of self-expression and those cycles of pleasure and release that are really important to maintaining a kind of healthy overall balance. And I think in today's modern world, we can often sort of label or treat sort of like indulgences as kind of like a selfish thing, as something that to, perhaps feel guilt or shame over, because, there's always more important things to focus on. And the trap in that is if you always believe there's something else more important to focus on, then you never end up taking the time for yourself. Having Dionysus in your past, to me, suggests that perhaps you've recently or in the past rediscovered that relationship to, I guess, ecstatic states. And if you're not currently practicing them, you've at least had that realization, that moment of a desire of wanting to invest more of your time in experiences that may seem whimsical or may seem hedonistic, but overall that imbue you with a sense of joy. And that's what life is all about, ultimately, is about not chasing and becoming attached to positive emotions all of the time. I'm not suggesting that, but certainly it's what makes the challenge and the difficulty and the struggles more bearable, is when we do find the time to sit with and appreciate joyful moments in whatever form that they arrive. All right, let's see if we can build on that context and see what's coming up for you in the current situation. So this is, what does Gemini need to know about the current situation? All right, you've picked the Icarus card here in the reverse. And I'm holding it upside down because it came in reverse. And Icarus speaks to like a kind of a quality of fearlessness, ambition, inspired kind of like adventure, which can sometimes tip off into being a little foolhardy. And in the reverse, rather than kind of signifying a person who's being foolhardy, it actually signifies in the reverse is like a reluctance to, or an aversion to kind of adventure, or feeling like maybe risk adverse, or rather than being fearless, perhaps there is a sense of fear or concern that's holding you back from doing things that you're passionate about. And as it relates to, I guess, Dionysus in the past, which is that kind of that pleasure and release, I'm wondering if perhaps there is a fear in the current kind of situation where you've developed like a fear or an aversion to self-expression, to euphoria, to pleasure and pain. Perhaps you've become so committed to a story that your life is full of difficulty or busyness or stress that you fear states of euphoria, you fear states of pleasure, because there's this concern that if you invest in it too much, it will get taken away. And therefore, it's better to not just abstain in general. And I totally get that. I think that if you just kind of think about it from a purely logical perspective, it makes sense to come up with that solution. But I think in the long run, I think we need to recognize that life is a state of emotions that are constantly in flux, and that, we can't cling to or expect any emotional state, no matter how much we prefer it to remain. Life is always in flux, and therefore so are our emotions. And so if we kind of
flavor every experience of joy or every possibility or every chance with this narrative of like, well, I best not enjoy it too much because it will only get taken away. Positive emotions come and go, positive and challenging situations come and go, and the best and most practical solution that we can take is to learn to be less attached to the feelings that we enjoy and try and merely just be present in them and appreciate them while they are there, because the one thing that I can guarantee is that it will go, and whether it's replaced by something else that's better or something else that's different or something else that's worse, none of us knows. But in terms of overall long-term regulation, the best thing that we can do is not attach ourselves to feelings that we prefer, and also attach ourselves to people that bring us those kind of feelings sometimes as well. There can be this tendency to over-identify or cling to others when, you know, the reality is that we never know what the next day will bring. And so, yeah, focusing mindfully on enjoying the moments while they're happening rather than feeding into that narrative of like, but what if they go? All right, let's get a card for the future for Gemini. Okay, you've pulled the Cain and Abel card here. In the future card, and this is so interesting because there are two cards in the Oracle deck. There's Cain and Abel, which is a duo, and there's also Pollux and Castor, who are the other duo. And I specifically included these cards to provide sort of like the light and shade of Gemini. And Abel and Cain, the card speaks to like fractured kind of intimacy, trauma bonds, and also karmic ties to siblings or sibling-like relationships. And I guess from an individual perspective, it can speak to like a fractured relationship between the observer self or the ego, and then also the unconscious self, who for whatever reason might be trying to communicate to us in ways that we don't recognize or appreciate. And when the unconscious mind has to really work to get our attention, it can become increasingly unpleasant. So nightmares or compulsive behavior or, you know, I guess even shadow projection at times as well. We can find ourselves behaving like really out of character and sort of like at an absolute loss as to why. And so with this sitting in your future, I get a sense that there is there is in the works kind of a moment of or moments of working to repair that relationship, whether it's an external one to you or whether it's like that internal one that I just outlined. You know, that's kind of for you to sort of work towards. But yeah, Cain and Abel, it is it's an opportunity for healing, absolutely. And I think that the best kind of approach here is to spend some time, you know, with yourself in meditation and kind of thinking about your relationships, either with actual siblings or internal relationship to that kind of, I guess, internal self, and have a think about how you feel about those relationships, where you feel them in your body, and if those feelings kind of arise and sort of cause discomfort, or there feels like there's an energetic block there, you know, it's about reflecting on, well, what might this be trying to communicate to me? Because like the majority of kind of trauma does live within the body, and we can become so and unaware of it that we forget about it, or we don't notice it until it kind of really flares up. So and I do think, like, as I look back at Dionysus and Icarus again, like, it's got something to do with self-expression. So perhaps, your unconscious self is wanting you to express parts of you that have been repressed or, you know, exiled, and kind of the blockage or the thing that's going to release that is letting go of that fear of allowing those parts to be expressed. And I think as it relates to expressing those parts, it doesn't necessarily mean you physically embodying them. It means shining light on the awareness of the existence of those parts or those impulses or those behaviors, and then acknowledging them without shame. And through that, it allows for a release. And you can do that through art, you can do that through journaling, you can do that through even just open and vulnerable conversations with someone that perhaps a family member, brother or sister, or perhaps a therapist. So that's the overall kind of theme for you, Gemini. And I think we'll jump into the tarot portion of the reading now, which may offer us some further context and insight. So the spread that we'll be using today is called the Healed Heart spread. And I devised this or channeled this spread following some internal shadow work that I'd done earlier this year, some kind of inner child work, I should say, and reparenting. And I like it because it follows the a 5-pointed star format of the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, which is essentially, it's an esoteric kind of ritual for helping to release caught energies within the body. And in doing so, it kind of can bring us to a state of sort of regulation and balance. So there are 5 points to the star. Each of them corresponds with a different element, and also has a different meaning, which I'll explain when I lay out the cards. So in terms of selecting cards, what I usually do is use a pendulum. So I'll be doing that again today. And just given what we've kind of already outlined together, I think I'm going to use the crystal quartz pendulum, because crystal quartz is really good for bringing a sense of love and kindness and compassion to readings. And I think, just given what we've explored here with the themes of the archetypes, that will be useful energy for us today. So we're looking for anti-clockwise circles. Okay, yeah, the last one. And the Healed Heart spread only needs 6 cards. So I'll split this deck again into piles of 6. And then we'll use the pendulum one last time to help us identify the cards for today. Alright. Anti-clockwise. Okay, yeah, it looks like that one. Alright. So let me quickly explain each of the points on the star and the elements and what they mean. So in the bottom left here, we've got the Earth position, which signifies what's supporting you or challenging you right now. Up here at the top in the center, the apex of the star, we've got the spirit position, which signifies what your higher self wants you to know. Down here on the bottom right is the fire position, and it correlates with how others might be viewing you with relation to this situation. Over here on the top left, which is the receiving side or the receptive side of the star, that is the air position, so significant for you, Gemini, and also it's kind of what Spirit is saying you should open up to receiving. And over here on the right, we have the water position on the active side of the star, and this is what Spirit is saying, how you should approach the situation, the tactic that you should kind of use. And then in the center here is the soul element, and it represents what's in your heart right now. So we'll go around following the order of the LBRP, and I'll give you a brief kind of summary of each card and what it might mean in this situation. So down here in the Earth position, we've got the Ten of Wands, which is what's supporting you and challenging you right now. And the Ten of Wands speaks to like a heavy burden that has been weighing you down, but which also, like, the end is at sight. Like, if you look at this image here, the man has already kind of been at work, and he's placed all of the other wands, and like he's now driving the final one into the ground. And so although it has been a significant effort, the supporting part is in the knowing that the work is almost done, and you're kind of like at that precipice of you know, the next stage in the journey. And I think tens in tarot kind of speak to completions, and so I get the sense that, you know, this final stake in the ground is this Cain and Abel card. It's this moment of introspection and work with that inner part of you that, you know, could potentially be, you know, one of the final pieces of individuation that, you know, you might need to look at. And of course, you know, individuation, shadow work, it continues on for our whole life, but there typically tends to be like a distinct period of it where it's particularly challenging, and then once we've kind of gone through that, it might bubble up again, new things might come up as well, but it doesn't tend to pull that same focus, I think, that you know, it would in that dark night of the soul kind of phase. So in the spirit position, where it's a message from your higher self, you've pulled here the King of Wands in reverse. And so the King of Wands speaks to a person who is charismatic and full of kind of like fire from like a, I guess, personality perspective, but when it's in reversed, it kind of suggests that those qualities can be misused to deceive or manipulate, or perhaps even like coerce. And what I'm getting a sense of here is Spirit is kind of saying that they want you to be aware that this individual is out of balance, and also that it's not your role necessarily to resolve it. You know, each of us is, you know, kind of agrees to a contract, a soul contract, and it's up to us to come to a moment of recognition and remember that contract, and then sort of like live it out. And it can be hard sometimes when we see those around us who are struggling, or who, you know, we have feelings for, and they appear to sort of be caught in a loop. We can't pull people out of loops. They can only pull themselves out of loops. This could also sort of signify like an internal, like perhaps internal father type role or voice that you may have learned to adopt. And that can sometimes manifest as like an inner critic, or it can also sometimes manifest as, I guess, compulsive behavior around seeking out certain types, whether it's bosses, whether it's lovers, whether it's friends who in some way allow us to kind of replicate that bond that we had with our own fathers, or lack of it, possibly, because that's how our unconscious mind can try and sort of resolve scripts that never came to a satisfactory resolution. Is we seek out people who remind us unconsciously of that figure, and we often end up in kind of repeating patterns of the same, unfortunately, trauma, because we're not consciously trying to direct that to a better resolution. It's kind of unconscious compulsion. And so, yeah, it could be either of those options for you. That's why I'm sort of laying them out. From the outside in, you've pulled the Hermit card here in reverse, which says to me, in the fire position, others are viewing you as someone who's coming out of their shell a little bit, but who also has like deep wisdom and understanding of themselves. And I think that is really, it's a benefit, because sometimes when we've spent a lot of time with ourselves, we can feel a little bit awkward going back into the world of people. And I think, you've done the work, and that's why you have the wisdom. And, there's this shift now in your energy. Perhaps you're feeling it too, that you're ready to leave this work behind. And now there's like kind of like a clean path ahead of you. And I think that's really exciting. So over here on the receiving side of the star in the air position, and this is about being open to receiving too. And so strength is like an active card, and it speaks to mental fortitude. It speaks to tenacity, and sometimes it can speak to like a sense of like going it alone and like holding it all in and like really kind of like clinging to hold it. And the fact that it's reversed here is saying to me that Spirit's asking you to let go of that feeling, that need to kind of hold it all together yourself. Like, now that you're kind of starting to come out of your shell a little bit, I think Spirit is kind of saying like, open up to sharing your vulnerability with others, and being part of a community, because like as humans, we're kind of naturally pack animals, and that means that we achieve a sense of co-regulation just from being around other people, and being around other people in a way that's open and authentic. So if you're feeling able to be around others and not needing to cover aspects of your identity to feel safe or accepted, then I encourage you to do that. If that's still a challenge for you, what I would suggest is, finding those one or two people that you can do that with, and investing some more time in those relationships as you can kind of continue to work on that aspect of authenticity. But yeah, the answer here is from Spirit is definitely saying like, you've been bearing this burden, and you've been bearing it on your own for a really long time, and it's time to kind of share that load. All right, over here on the right, we've got the Four of Cups, which is in the active kind of side of the star. And the Four of Cups speaks to a person who feels a bit indignant or unwilling to take chances, because prior history has sort of like led them to believe that, what's the point? I'm not going to even bother trying because nothing ever turns out for me. And the fact that it's in reverse is saying that you need to let go of that mindset. Like, that's not going to help anything, and most certainly it's not going to help you. And so I think, and this is really hard, right? Because like our brains have evolved to do exactly this. Like, you know, you burn yourself on something hot and you learn not to like touch the hot thing again. And in many ways, this card is sort of saying to like let go of that historical data that you've built up where you've been burned, because, you know, that's actually what's holding you back. And I think, unfortunately, because humans are sort of like pattern seeking creatures, we see sometimes patterns where none exist. And as it relates to humans and their behavior and also circumstances in the world, like, I think things are way more random than we actually can accept. And so we start creating these like mental tally boards, and we start seeing, well, that's just more evidence that like things never work out for me. But having a mindset that things never work out for us is actually probably the most significant factor in terms of determining like whether things actually work out for us or not. And so Spirit is saying here, like, let go of that. Like that is not going to serve you, that particular mindset. All right, what's in your heart right now? The Page of Wands. This is so nice for you, Gemini. The Page of Wands speaks to like an inner curiosity, almost like a child's mind. And I don't mean that as like a childish mind. I mean that in terms of like a sense of seeing the world and the things in the world as if for the first time, and like not letting go of that sense of wonder of like, how is it that butterflies, you know, turn into goop and then fly? How is it that the sun rises every day? How is it that, you know, the feeling of fresh air on our skin can feel so wonderful? Like, it's trying to appreciate and remember all of those things in the world as if for the first time. And, you know, I think we become cynical with age. We, you know, we'll forget to look out the window. We'll forget to stop and smell the roses. And the Page of Wands doesn't do that. The Page of Wands is full of inner fire. They're full of curiosity. They're full of creativity. And it's because they never forget for a minute how beautiful and abundant the world is around them. And I think that that's a really lovely message to end on for you, Gemini. I hope that you got something from that. And I will see you back here next month. Take care. Well, that's all I've got for you today. So let that settle and rest and relax through it. Not everything needs to be understood at once. All of the cards that were used today, the Artemis Tarot and Artemis Oracle cards, were designed and created by me. You can find them on my website at www.artemispalimpsest.com. That link's below in the description. And on the site, you can explore the 44 Divine Masculine archetype profiles that comprise the deck, as well as find links to buy them. So do inquire about a one-on-one personal reading if you'd like to go deeper. And also keep an eye out for videos starting this week. I'll be doing one deep dive archetype video each week where I'll explore the symbolism, art, and creative process behind developing these. If this reading resonated, please like, comment, subscribe, or share it with someone who might need it. It really helps this work find the people it's meant to serve. This is Artemis Oracle and Tarot. Divine what can't be seen by day, and behold with new perspective that which stalked in the night. I will see you back here next month. You've been watching Artemis Oracle and Tarot, a sacred space for healing for those on the moonlit path. Join us here on YouTube for monthly tarot readings by astrology sign and deep dives into the imagery and symbolism used in the making of our unique Artemis Oracle and Tarot decks. If having a space to work through the unpleasant but necessary parts of adulting sounds good to you, Like and subscribe here on YouTube and follow us on Instagram so you never miss a beat. All links are in the description below.